So, we have another police officer applying a chokehold to an unarmed black man. Let's see what happened. Let's just be honest. In today's climate, you as an officer, if you're out there patrolling, would know that, hey, I am not putting my hands on someone's neck unless it's absolutely, I mean absolutely necessary to save my life or someone else's life, right? We're not putting people in chokeholds. Like, George Floyd should have ended all that. And that kind of leads me to this George Floyd effect. I think there's a positive piece to that incident, and I think we're going to see that here in this police encounter. Now, just to fill you in on some backstory, you got a couple of people who happen to be drunk walking around in Queens, and they're going to confront officers. We're going to see the confrontation actually take place. One of the people actually goes and pulls a foreign object out of a trash can, seems to threaten officers. All things break down and blah, blah, blah. So let's look at our first video to see from the police body cam footage to see what happened and why this person is being restrained by police.
Go ahead. Facebook love this shit. Stoner, you the only one Facebook love. Give me a breathalyzer. Stoner, go ahead. I ain't driving shit. You should yo, nigga, what the fuck are you doing, bro? What are you doing? Get away from me, bro. I didn't get yeah, of course you didn't. We're on camera too. Just stay back. Stop blocking the view. Well, I'm just trying to go. This is shit. Yo, stop choking him, bro. You guys can record. Yo, stop choking him. Yo, he's choking him. Let him go, bro. Let him go. Look. Back up. Yo, back the fuck away from me. Back up. Yo, stop choking. He's choking him. Yo, he's fucking. Yo, he's choking him. We're not doing nothing wrong. Yo, come on, brother. Let's go. Word? All right. I want to see what.
Now, these three men are inebriated, and they're telling the police how much they love police work. And you see their friend over here in the black.
Stoner, go ahead.
Now he goes into a garbage can and pulls out a foreign object. Now he's just seen his friend pull something out of the garbage and is like, yo, what the blank are you doing, bro? We got this. We got our cameras out. We're just harassing them. That's fine. You going and you doing something crazy. So now, as you see from the police body cam, they jump at the guy. He's pulled a foreign object out of the garbage. He's acting aggressive. They're after him. Even his friend thought he was acting aggressive. And now, again, like I always say, using physical force ain't something pretty. It's just not. And that's what happens here. Now, after you have that altercation, now he's down, you got multiple officers there, right? 4 or 5 officers there. They're on top of them. They got the situation under control. So now I'm going to switch to another angle. This is the angle of the cell phone video. So the person who's actually holding the cell phone, this is their angle of watching the video.
All right, I got you. Just stay back. Let him go. Yo, stop talking.
Now, if we look, you see this officer here? This officer has his arm seemingly around his neck and is covering the top of his body. It's hard for this guy to breathe now. And you have 1, 2, 3 officers trying to handcuff him. So you got 3 officers handcuffing him, and this guy has his arm over his head and is laying his full body over his head. It looks like his arm is around his throat. Let's continue.
Bro, you guys can record. Yo, stop talking. Yo, he's talking him.
George Floyd was being choked to death, and other officers were doing what they're doing, trying to hold him down. And 9 minutes later, George Floyd is dead, and all 4 officers are facing murder charges, right? So these officers know that happened, and no, they're not in Minnesota. They're in New York. So this is a totally different ball game. This guy dies while this guy's got his arm over his neck. We had Eric Gardner. Now they've just passed that law. Now you got this. So these cops are more than aware that asses can be in trouble. So I think it's very interesting to watch what happens here. Watch what happens here when people start yelling, he's choking him, he's choking him.
Yo, stop choking him, bro.
You guys can record.
Yo, stop choking him. Yo, he's choking him. Let him go.
You see my man pulled him up, tapped him, and yo, it's time to get the hell up off this guy. I'm not going to jail for you choking some drunk out here on Rockaway Beach. That's not happening. Get up and let's take him to jail. So the NYPD takes that very, very seriously. Now in New York, it's illegal to put people in chokeholds. You can't, not even for officers. Now, obviously, we're talking about situations that don't require chokeholds to save people's lives. There may be some situation where you got to put somebody in a chokehold to save your life or somebody else's life. Acceptable. But just here, a drunk man being arrested, you got him all under control. Why are you laying on top of him, choking him? It makes no sense. Even if you're not choking him, why even have the appearance of your arm around his neck? Sometimes I think cops just have to think. Now, this cop who we're talking about isn't like the #1 cop on the force here, right? You would think that a cop like this would have been trained better, or would at least would use better judgment in this particular situation. This cop has had incidents in the past where he's been prosecuted, even though he was found not guilty in the past. He was prosecuted for this. Check this out. This is our officer here, the one that put this suspect in the chokehold. This is our officer here. He's up there in the blue shirt, and this guy walking by is, I believe, he's an apparent drug suspect. So watch what happens.
Identify the suspended officer as David Afanador. In 2014, he was charged with beating a teenage drug suspect, but found not guilty at trial.
Now, the cop's name is David Afanador. So he is now being charged with strangulation in New York, and he is being prosecuted. He's been suspended from the force. He is probably going to lose his job, pension, has some civil suits against him, all because he put a chokehold on some drunk guy walking down the street. And he's also helped that drunk guy. You know, this is now helping him because, you know, his family's going to sue. Come on. He was put in a chokehold. His family's definitely going to sue, and the city's going to sue because they don't want to have that negative publicity of one of their officers. I think the positive effect of George Floyd now is that officers who are using poor judgment are now going to be policed by other officers.
Yo, he's choking him. Let him go.
Because they know that by allowing just a rogue officer to do something like what happened in George Floyd case, or even here, being over aggressive and it leads to someone's death, then that is going to in turn lead to their prosecution, their loss of livelihoods, just like it did in Minnesota. And officers today, I think, are going to be more cognizant of how far they're going to allow these other officers to go. And that's why I think in this case, specifically, you had the officers show tremendous restraint and pull one of their own off when soon as the community starts saying, hey, he's choking him. The other cop.
Choking him. Yo, he's choking him. Let him go.
Get up. Enough. You're choking it. Because I think the accountability of other officers to hold their counterparts accountable, I think is going to be the best step forward for police reform as of now. Because that's who really check you on the street. When you're out there in uniform and you're out there on the street, the people who check you in your everyday thing are your partners, or the other officers who are out there. The supervisors come around once in a while, but you're really talking about depending on the other officers. You know, what you have a group of officers who I think acted reasonably when someone picks up something out of a garbage can and acts like they're going to hit you with it. But then I also believe that the officers who, you know, arrested this guy, handcuffed this guy, the next thing you know, you got this one officer who's going above and beyond and doing something that is criminal, you stop him. Do you think this officer should be prosecuted? Do you think this officer should be retrained? Let me know in the comment section. Hey, before I go, I want to give a thank you to all my channel members and all my Patreons and everyone who's contributed to PayPal. It's been a remarkable turnaround, and I really want to thank everybody for the support. I hope you enjoy these videos, and I hope you enjoy my insight on both the legal issues, police reform, and my pop culture pieces. So, my name is Nate again, lawyer, YouTuber, and I want to thank you again for watching. Peace.